Absolute Dominion 2025 Reviews. Absolute Dominion is a 2025 science fiction action film written and directed by Lexi Alexander, set in a dystopian future 2063 or 2085, depending on the source, where a global holy war threatens humanity. To resolve the conflict, the world's governing bodies establish a martial arts tournament called Absolute Dominion, where fighters representing different faiths compete, and the winner's belief system will govern humanity to restore peace. The film stars Desiree Mia as Sagan Bruno, a genetically engineered fighter for the Institute of Humanism and Science, IHS, alongside actors like Andy Allo, Alex Winter, Patton Oswalt, and Julie Ann Emery. Below is a comprehensive summary of the film's reviews, highlighting critical reception, praise, criticisms, and key themes based on available sources. Critical reception. The film has received mixed reviews, with a 50% rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on 12 critics' reviews. Critics generally praise the film's ambitious premise and Lexi Alexander's background as a former kickboxing champion, which lends authenticity to the fight choreography. However, many reviewers find the execution lacking, citing a low budget, weak dialogue, and underdeveloped themes. The film is often compared to classics like Bloodsport and The Hunger Games, but is seen as falling short due to its inability to fully capitalize on its high concept idea. Positive reviews and praise. Some reviewers appreciate Absolute Dominion for its intriguing concept, nostalgic vibe, and certain standout elements. Premise and ambition. The concept of a martial arts tournament to decide the world's dominant faith is widely noted as unique, provocative, and ripe with potential. A.W. Kautzer at the Movie Aisle calls it part Bloodsport, part Hunger Games, blending a straightforward martial arts competition with a meditation on global politics and religion. Jared Mobarak describes it as more than a B-level popcorn actioner, lifting the veil on societal fear and hate, particularly around religious conflicts. Fight choreography. Alexander's expertise as a former world kickboxing champion is a highlight, with critics like Robert Daniels at RogerEbert.com praising the efficient and seamless choreography and wide shots that capture the fighters' movements in relation to their environments. Keith Loves Movies notes that the fight sequences feature variety, with each religion's distinct fighting style emphasized. Performances. Several actors received praise. Desiree Mia's calm, centered portrayal of Sagan Bruno is likened to Neo from The Matrix by Leslie Calm Mail at awfj.org, fitting his genetically engineered character. Andy Allo is described as a charming badass scene stealer, and Alok Vade, Menon's flamboyant MC Ceylon, is a standout, delivering memorable lines like the Joan Rivers of the Apocalypse. Patton Oswalt's complex portrayal of the influencer who sparks the tournament idea is also noted positively. Visual and nostalgic appeal. An IMDb user review highlights the film's gorgeously filmed sequences, vibrant color schemes, and cultural influenced wardrobe, evoking nostalgic excitement reminiscent of 1980s karate movies. The score is praised for surprising and enhancing fight scenes. Social commentary. The film's exploration of religion, tolerance, and violence is appreciated by some. Comamel notes its commentary on pointless and tragic violence in the name of religion, informed by Alexander's Palestinian background. Mubarak connects the narrative to real-world issues like Islamophobia and religious crusades, suggesting the film critiques the dismantling of religious freedom. Entertainment value. Despite flaws, Ape Comics finds the film watchable and entertaining, with teases of a larger story keeping audiences engaged. Sean Chandler gives it a B, recommending it to genre fans for its blend of tournament fighter, dystopian future, and religion. Negative reviews and criticisms. The majority of criticisms focus on the film's failure to deliver on its promising premise, hampered by budget constraints and execution issues. Weak execution and budget limitations. Robert Daniels at RogerEbert.com calls it a high-concept sci-fi flick whose many pieces move but rarely settle in satisfying positions, lacking deeply felt emotions, memorable characters, and provocative ideas. Loud and Clear Reviews labels it tedious and cheap looking, with poor visual effects resembling free Adobe After Effects templates and uneven editing. Screen Anarchy's Rob Hunter notes that the film lacks faith in what it could have been, with no momentum and stale energy even in fight scenes. Underdeveloped themes. Critics like Steven Silver at Splice Today argue the film lacks convictions or ideas, failing to explore its religious and ideological themes with nuance. Loud and Clear Reviews points out that Alexander pays only lip service to themes like religion, tolerance, and violence, with embarrassing dialogue undermining potential depth. Poor dialogue and acting. The dialogue is frequently criticized as clunky and unnatural. Loud and Clear Reviews describes protagonist Sagan as talking like a Terminator, despite being human, and secondary characters as communicating in a direct, forced manner. Film Inquiry notes pop culture references that feel dated or out of place in the futuristic setting. Some performances, like Alok Vaidman's MC, are criticized for leaning into stereotypes, with Kamel noting the character's gender fluidity is portrayed unsympathetically. Lackluster action. Despite Alexander's credentials, many find the fights disappointing. An IMDb user review calls them slow choreographed and akin to a dance, set in an underwhelming gymnasium like arena that lacks grandeur. Loud and Clear Reviews deems most fights quite boring, and Screen Anarchy notes they end quickly with minimal exertion, lacking the intensity of a deathmatch. Production and setting issues. The film's futuristic setting is criticized for looking generic due to budget constraints. Film Inquiry describes sets filmed in a defunct Las Vegas casino as sort of futuristic and not quite. While 8 Comics notes the tournament's rec center setting diminishes its global stakes, visual effects are repeatedly called out as amateurish, with Loud and Clear Reviews comparing them to free software outputs. Narrative and pacing problems. Sarah Vincent at Sarah G. Vincent Views likens the film to a TV series pilot, with an incomplete narrative suggesting a sequel, leaving audiences unsatisfied. AIPT Comics mentions pacing issues and a humorless tone, missing the light-hearted charm of classic tournament films like Bloodsport. Key themes and analysis. The film attempts to tackle significant themes but is often criticized for not fully exploring them. Religion and conflict. The tournament setup critiques religious warfare, with the IHS's atheistic stance advocating for separation of church and state. Mubarak ties this to real world issues like Islamophobia and historical crusades, but critics like Silver and Hunter argue the film lacks conviction in its message. Tolerance and ideology. Alexander hints at the dangers of religious totalitarianism, but the film's reveal about Sagan's character muddles its stance, trying to appeal to both believers and non believers without clear resolution. Violence as solution. The tournament's premise questions whether violence can resolve ideological conflicts, but the film's serious tone and lack of carnage, compared to Alexander's Punisher, Warzone, dilute this exploration. Additional context. Production challenges. Initially backed by Netflix and Blumhouse, the film was dropped in November 2022, possibly due to Netflix's subscriber losses, though Calm Mail speculates it may reflect bias against female filmmakers. It was later released by Giant Pictures on VOD on May 9, 2025. Alexander's background. Lexi Alexander's history as a kickboxing champion and her outspoken views on Palestinian issues inform the film's authenticity and social commentary, but critics note a disconnect from her earlier, more successful works like Green Street Hooligans and Punisher, Warzone. Audience reception. Limited audience feedback exists, but an IMDb user gave it 5 stars, praising Desiree Mia's performance, while another criticized the slow fights and excessive political dialogue. Summary. Absolute Dominion is a film with a bold and intriguing premise that aims to blend martial arts action with socio-political commentary on religion and conflict. While it earns praise for its fight choreography, select performances, and nostalgic B-movie vibe, it is largely criticized for its low-budget execution, weak dialogue, underdeveloped themes, and lackluster action. Critics agree that Lexi Alexander's vision is ambitious, but the film fails to deliver the emotional depth, memorable characters, or thrilling action needed to match its potential. It remains a watchable, if flawed, entry for fans of martial arts and dystopian sci-fi, but it doesn't reach the heights of Alexander's earlier works or classic tournament films. Sources. Reviews and details are compiled from RogerEbert.com, Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, Loud and Clear Reviews, Film Inquiry, AIPT Comics, Keith Loves Movies, Screen Anarchy, The Movie Aisle, awfj.org, jaredmobarak.com, and other cited sources. 23 MozupTube. Like, share, subscribe, follow my channel,